Super Bowl. Brady goes for the deep shot. He's got a touchdown.
And Mahomes at bay.
The Tampa Bay Bucs, Super Bowl 55.
Hello and welcome to the Bucs Banter podcast. My name is Colin Hallboom, and I am happy to be here broadcasting our 20th episode of the Bucs Banter podcast live on Bucs Report. Unfortunately, we are still without Bo this week as he's just wrapping up his vacation, but rest assured, loyal listeners, he will be back for our next episode. I can promise you that. It's just too close to the start of the NFL season for him not to be. So for the second week in a row, I'm riding dirty with Scotty Capron as my co-host this evening. Scott, what is good, my dude?
We're hanging in there, pal. We're getting close, and I know Bo isn't here with us, but he's sent in a couple texts today that'll definitely make the show when we get into our best bets of the season coming up here. So miss you, but yeah, man. Like we've been saying, just getting that much closer. We're 10 days away from the Bucs Cowboys on Thursday night. Incredible.
Should be a good one.
And, so good.
Yeah. And you kind of stole my thunder, but if there was one episode, only one of the Bucs Banter podcast that Scott would be absolutely required for, it would most definitely be this one. Why, you might ask? Because tonight is our NFL Best Bets episode. The preseason is over, and we'll be doing a preview of that Bucs-Cowboys game next Monday night, the one Scott just alluded to, the one everyone already knows and thinks about constantly.
Yes.
But what better time than now to dive into some betting odds with the dwarf lantern shark of sports gambling. He's affectionately known by some as Copernicus for his ability to predict the unpredictable. We had to make sure our resident betting expert and beloved co-host Scotty Cap was in the building for this one. That was just the rest of my little intro for you.
It's good. Well, wow. I mean, a lot to take in there. Copernicus, yeah, I remember when Perm called me that in about 2007. Didn't really know what to make of it at the time. Still don't know, but we'll take it. And hey, this is the part of the season. This is the part of the calendar year when we all think we have a good beat on what these teams are going to look like, right? We all know who the 7 playoff teams in each conference are going to be. So it's fun. And then, by week 3, when you've suffered your 6th bad beat out of 8 bets and you just want to jump off a cliff, then maybe we can revisit. But as of right now, I'm loving looking at the board and loving looking at all these plays we're going to talk about tonight.
Awesome. I love it. Sorry, we're just having a bit of an issue with our Facebook here, so I'm just talking to some Bucs Report people trying to get that sorted out. But in the meantime, we are broadcasting live on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, among other places. So hopefully we'll get that sorted out shortly. In the meantime, we can churn along here, and we'll just get started with what's up with the Bucs, because after all, this is the Bucs Banter podcast. Need to talk a little Bucs before we get into our gambling content.
Absolutely.
The final preseason game is in the books, and it was a win, 23-16 for the Bucs. Not like the end result matters. What did matter, though, was how the starters looked after a putrid opening drive. Tom Brady was all but completely surgical on the second and third drives. He finished 11 for 14 for 151 yards and a touchdown. Pretty sure he played like around a quarter, if not less. So Bruce Arians wasn't fully honest regarding all the starters playing a half, and I think most Bucs fans would be thankful that was not the case. I think most Bucs fans would be thankful that they just got him in, showed what he could do, and they got out. 7 of those 11 completions were split between Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin. He was spreading the ball around. Those receivers looked really sharp. We've talked a lot about how we expect Antonio Brown to be more involved this season, and I think that brief snippet would be indication that we may be on the right path in that regard.
Yeah, great line. Obviously, the numbers, those drives spoke for themselves. Get him a couple reps, get him some flow, all that. Have another week and a half here to prepare and get ready for the first game. Probably couldn't have asked for a better Better performance from Brady in the offense, like you said, after that first drive. So good for them. Like you said, not a huge deal. Obviously, it wouldn't be alarm bells if anything, if it didn't look that good. But it's always nice to just see your offense clicking like that, even if it is August. And yeah, just gears us up that much more for this opener. Man, I can't wait. I can't wait to watch this offense play. Like, I'm truly excited and interested to see what Leftwich comes up with, see if they're more aggressive on first down, just how Brady's going to spread the ball around. I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it. Like, and sorry, I know we're touching on this Cowboys game, and it's game 1 out of 17, but what a fun game. Like, there's at least insanity that's going to happen with any Cowboys game, right? Like, anything can happen. There, like, Jerry Jones might run on the field and try to block someone. Like, it's such a great matchup. It's such a good way to start the season. I can't wait for that actual game.
Yeah, me too, man. It's fun. And like, word came out today that Dak will be playing Jerry Jones.
Good.
But,
honestly, good.
Yeah, no kidding. Like,
yeah.
Imagine we had to watch Ben DiNucci or something. Like,
oh no.
Yeah.
He's still trying to get up off the mat from that pile driver you gave him like 3 weeks ago on here. So
oh, Benny DiNucci.
Benny D.
Bucs made some roster cuts, some expected, some not as expected. Tanner Hudson, the highly productive tight end, like the most productive from a receiving perspective tight end in camp for the Bucs. Tanner Hudson. A lot of people, I think, thought he might stick on the team, but he was one of the casualties today, along with Anthony Hamilton, former Kansas City Chief cornerback who was brought over. Javon Hagan is a safety who had some really nice looking performances throughout camp and in the preseason, wasn't able to make the cut. And Darrell Adams, the other veteran tight end. So Bucs cutting down on some tight ends, as well as a couple guys in the secondary. There were other players, but none really worth mentioning in my opinion. I think some of those guys, particularly Tanner Hudson and Anthony Hamilton and Javon Hagan, were maybe a surprise to some Buccaneers fans. Obviously, Jason Light and Bruce Arians and the staff have a clear vision in terms of what they think is important. I think some people were almost surprised to see the last pick in the NFL draft, Grant Stewart, still hanging around as of now. I guess what this reaffirms for me is just how important and high priority special teams is. And I think they are just so focused on that. That's the reason they designated half the draft to addressing it. And I guess they're really hoping for those guys to stick. Bono's ball checking us out. Bo, salute.
Oh, bud, we miss you.
Miss you too, big guy.
See you next week. Yeah. Yeah, Bo. Oh, that tugs on the heartstrings right there. But Call, so did any of those really stand out to you? I don't think any would be in the shock category, but any that kind of at least made you think for, a minute or two?
Because we have Cameron Braid, who's such a receiving threat as a tight end, and then obviously Rob Gronkowski can catch the ball, and obviously OJ Howard can catch the ball.
They're just that's as deep a tight end core as maybe any NFL team has ever had. Honest, like, I'm not even kidding. You have 3 starting quality tight ends. That's unheard of.
For sure. And Brady
starting quality, Gronkowski's the best tight end of all time. So yeah, add that to the mix. So
for sure. And Gronk's maybe from a fantasy perspective past his prime and whatever, but he's such an effective blocker, and he's been such a fantastic teammate since he got here. That's what's really blown me away. Not to say I didn't expect it, but he has this kind of douchey aura to him, or at least that's how I perceived him.
Childish.
In New England. Childish, maybe a better term. Thank you. But I love Gronk, and I love having him as a member of the Bucs. And he's just, everyone who talks about him, he's just the best teammate ever.
Yeah. And he's a superstar. When in a league that is, you kind of have to be a quarterback to be a superstar. It isn't as marketable as the NBA, but people know Gronk, and he's backed it up with production. He hasn't just been off the field stuff. He's been amazing. And the fact that he's that good of a teammate, the fact that he has obviously an unbelievable relationship with Brady, it's just like icing on the cake for him. Then he played great in the Super Bowl, which was unreal. And yeah, tough for the tight end that got cut, but that's not necessarily a black mark on his name to not make it over those 3 guys. That's for sure.
No, I think they just want to use those roster spots on positions of need. It's at that point, it's a luxury to be able to do it and to have to pass on a guy like Tanner Hudson. I mean, Javon Hagan, Anthony Hamilton, those guys are a little more surprising because you almost can't have enough depth in the secondary.
Yeah.
But again, we do have depth there as well. And obviously there's some other guys, like I said, I think it probably has to do more with special teams than anything. And they're really prioritizing the best possible unit on special teams. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand on that. We'll see what happens. In terms of that's all I really want to talk about on the Bucs, because we're gonna go hard next week. Potentially 2 more pods before the opener at least. So I kind of want to save our preview for the Dallas Tampa game home opener next week. It is a betting episode. Tampa at this point is favored by 7.5. But let's just take a quick look around the league, and then we'll get right into our betting preview. If you're good with that, Cap.
Absolutely.
So since we were last on, it actually happened last Monday night after we were talking about how Jameis has got to be the starter over Taysom Hill. Sure enough, they named Jameis, it was after that game that Jameis lit it up. It was super effective, like while we were on the air.
Dropping a couple absolute dimes. Great catches too. Great catches, but like unbelievable throws, unbelievable touchdown throws. Yeah.
I mean, when Jameis is on, he's got all the arm talent in the world.
It's so hard because he's such a kind of character and, throws so many interceptions, but his good, no one ever questioned his good. Like his good is as good as almost anyone's, just like straight up talent and ability, but it's just trying to limit the insane stuff that happens with him, right? Or around him even. But yeah, like wasn't a question. I don't know. Taysom Hill hasn't played quarterback in the NFL, so that gave Jameis a pretty good leg up right there. Like I don't know what went on there, but anyways, he's looked pretty good.
Yeah, so he was named the starter anyway. So finally, Sean Payton made the right call there. Teddy Bridgewater named the starter in Denver. So those are the 2 guys who kind of earned that spot amongst the quarterback competitions. I mean, Bridgewater's got a lower ceiling, arguably, than Locke, but certainly a higher floor. And I think that's what they're going for in Denver. So, like, that's not a shocking decision.
No, and like it's Vic Fangio. He's still going to be punting on 3rd down, right? So I don't know if he even really cared who the quarterback was. I can't disagree with it. Like, people throwing out that, and I technically probably agree that Drew Lock has a higher ceiling, but man, that ceiling is very hard to get to for him. Like, have we seen really, really good Drew Lock? It's not like
aside from like 2 quarters in college.
Yeah, and not even like 2 games in a row. Yeah. Right. So I don't know. I think he'll stick around. I think, we'll see if they start off slow. Maybe they hand the keys over to Lock, but I don't know. If they're going to be a defensive-minded team, they have some guys on offense. Bridgewater is clearly fine. Like, he's clearly a fine quarterback. I don't think that's really arguable. So
he's a great number 2 quarterback and a serviceable, like he can start and win games with a great roster around him.
Yeah. So, tough. I think that's a bit of a tough call that they had there. It's no huge shock that it took them this long to announce a starter. And it's not like Bridgewater was coming in as a number 2 and they had the number 4 overall pick in Drew Lock that they're waiting to see if he's ready to go. You know what I mean? Like I said before, we've kind of seen it. So yeah, not crazy. I probably would have gone Bridgewater, and I'm certainly not surprised that Fangio did. That's for sure. I couldn't be less excited for Denver. After kind of digging into them and everything, just how they've been so mediocre after being kind of like a cornerstone franchise in the NFL for whatever, 10 to 15 years. They're like, I don't know. They just do nothing for me. Even though I like a couple of their guys, they just do nothing for me. That might also have something to do with the division, because I do like the Chargers and the Chiefs so much more than them, obviously. I don't know. Where are you?
I'd say you've stayed true to that too from when we previewed that division.
Yeah.
Like, you've kind of been that guy. I would say I'm the one who's been, I don't want to say pounding the table, but saying that we need to acknowledge how talented the roster is in Denver potentially,
Yeah.
especially on the defensive side.
Yes.
And even on offense, I love a ton of the guys they have. But again, like they're one of the teams that is lacking consistent quarterback play, or at least something to put them over the top. So I expect them to be solid this year, but you're right. They're in one of the toughest divisions in football.
Yeah.
And they have been a disappointment under Fangio and even before that. And Elway really fizzled out there. Apparently not as great at evaluating the quarterback. But same with George Patton, who's there now. He passed on Justin Fields with the 9th overall pick to draft Patrick Surtain after they addressed the cornerback position specifically in free agency, bringing over Fuller. They did a good job in free agency. So, I mean, that could potentially haunt them, because what a great situation for Justin Fields and for that team to bring him in at 9. They wouldn't even have to move up. Look what San Fran had to give up to get Trey Lance. They could have got Fields.
And Fields is better than Lance, but sorry, we're going to get into a draft thing here. I think Fields is like undoubtedly better than Trey Lance. I'm sorry. I hope that Lance is good, but I'd love to hear the justification for a team who has started like Brett Rippon and Trevor Siemian these last few years to not take the potential generational talent without even having to move up to get them. I know it's been discussed, all the NFL, like everything that I follow. Obviously, it's not some, under the radar thing that happened or didn't happen with the Broncos passing on Fields. But it looks even more ridiculous now, even after just watching a few games of Fields in the preseason. Like I know you how big on Fields you were. It just, there's no justification. There's none.
Yeah, it's just such a glaring need. And also in terms of just best talent available, like I know Surtain is arguably the best corner in the draft, and Fangio, we get it. You're a defensive minded coach. But Justin Fields, his ceiling is so high. Not to play the ceiling floor game again. I've already mentioned that, but his ceiling is so high, and I believe his floor is quite high. And in terms of the Lance thing, Scott, the only thing I'll say to counter that, because obviously I said Fields is my number one quarterback coming out.
Yeah.
In the entire draft. The thing with Lance and the thing with quarterbacks in general, where you land, how you're coached, the system you come into goes a long way to determining your NFL career and how you're viewed. And I can't think, and I wrote about this on bucsbanter.ca in my article QB1, all about Justin Fields. I wrote about how this is potentially for a player that high in the draft, a quarterback, the best situation for a rookie quarterback to come into in quite some time.
Yeah.
Almost comparable to like Tim Duncan when he went to the Spurs that year after David Robinson's injury, and then just like an abnormally functional franchise with great leadership.
That's such a great way to put it. Because they're like a real team with a real front office and a real coach that a talented guy like Lance got to go to. Obviously I can't argue that. That's a great point, and definitely puts him in a position to be successful here. It's just the Denver Fields thing. It's like, what do you need? You literally need a quarterback. So take a chance here. Like, what are they still feeling the scars of drafting Paxton Lynch? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Move on. Let's try again, because you need to.
Yeah. It was just the ideal spot to do it. Bo's still lurking around in the shadows here. Denver might even regret not rolling the dice on Jameis. Price would be lower than Teddy, right? Yeah, Price is a hell of a lot lower than Teddy, but they would have had to do it 2 years ago, right? Because Jameis. Yeah. So that's the thing that I would say there. Poor Bo can make these points, and then he can't verbalize his own response. Definitely agrees on Fields long term for Denver. That's Bo Danyard, Bo Knows Ball, coming in.
Hey, bud.
On Twitter. Follow him at Bo Knows Ball. You see it on the screen there for our viewers.
Yeah.
He is, of course, the third leg of this three-legged podcast. Race. Let me catch up on a couple.
Here's a hot take. Three-legged races suck. I mean, I say that as if I'm still doing them frequently. Haven't done one in probably about 27 years. But like tying my leg up to some dick beside me, we got to run to wherever. Always hated them. Can't we just race like normal people? Always thought they were dumb.
Using the term dick and talking about three legs, very risque terminology choice.
You went there, pal.
You
Not
went
even
there.
that didn't even cross my mind.
No, but you
Didn't
said
even.
it. You said it.
Yeah, well, well.
Anyway, let me just say though, whatever you call
I
them,
thought to run the tapes back. Yeah.
those three-legged races, I just want to say I'm borderline elite QB1 as the third leg in those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like you and me could be a force if you could hold me up.
Well,
Like in that, like that would be a pretty fun challenge. Maybe we got to challenge one of the other podcasts on Bucs Report.
that's possible. Although
I guess you should be the third leg. I don't know.
our last competition, we lost in a cornhole match last Saturday. That I'm still feeling the effects of that. That sucks.
Well, we also beat a team that had gone like 21-0 that day in our first matchup with them. So we took two
Plus,
from them.
it was their beanbags. You know what I mean? They had home bag advantage. I don't like. Hey, not to make excuses. You know, the score was the score, but it just Josh and Fraser, if we're gonna get a rematch, just let us know whenever and wherever. Shakira.
Yes, there we are.
Yeah.
Knew that was going to come up eventually. I want to catch up on a couple comments. John Carather says, "What's up, Bucks?" Johnny Santilli, Bucks banter. Better bring Bodan back, baby. Bet. There it is. Don't worry.
Wow.
The fans have spoken, and Bodan has answered, creeping up in the comments. So don't worry. He's around. You just can't see him.
Wow, Johnny with an absolutely insane comment. Who would have thought?
All right. John Carruthers. Scotty Miller seems to be struggling this year. I mean, to say seems to be struggling this year seems a little bit unfair just because of the fact this year hasn't started technically. But I do understand what you're saying because, John, you're thinking preseason of any time is a time we're going to see some explosive plays from Scotty Miller, and we're going to see him on the field. Looked like he got a little banged up in this last preseason game, but he returned to the field, so he should be fine. I'm not too worried about Scotty Miller. I feel like he is what he is, and hopefully he'll have a similar role to last year where he'll come in if someone's hurt and be effective for some big splash plays. I'd love to see Scotty Miller develop as a receiver in terms of being more reliable on shorter option receiver as well. I think the secret's going to be out on him this year. Of course, he's such a burner, so that's naturally going to create some more cushion with the corners he's up against. So, just little hitch plays, little short slants, things like that. I'd love to see how he handles that. And if he can show more than just straightaway speed and a little bit of wiggle in between the chaos of the interior of a defense, that would definitely propel him to a new level in terms of his productivity as an NFL receiver. And we were just talking about quarterbacks around the league. So John would also like to bring it back home. Trask looked good. Gabbert needs to be cut. He's never been good for us. So Gabbert has had a terrible preseason. He's looked awful. You were right. He looked really bad the last two games in pretty substantial playing time. But then again, like think about that game against Detroit last year. He absolutely lit the lamp as soon as Brady went out because we were trumping him so hard. But again, that's versus the Detroit Lions, arguably less of a challenge than third stringers of the Houston Texans this year. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's positive from Trask though. Right. Like,
yeah, I guess. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Trask is a long play. So
for sure,
you want to see some good stuff from him. So you're right. He looked good. I do think though, Gabbert's solidified the number 2 quarterback position. And I think what we're not seeing, John, is that the value he brings from like up here inside the helmet and as just a leader, knowing the offense, knowing the team. I think to a team like the Buccaneers, they just need someone who knows what the hell they're doing to spell Tom Brady if unfortunately the Bucs find themselves in a position where they need to for whatever reason.
Yeah, he's got big like Bruce Gradkowski on the Steelers or Charlie Whitehurst on the Titans vibes. You know what I mean?
Gradkowski true. I guess Bruce, did you know he was our starter years ago, Scott? Bruce Gradkowski?
Yeah, I remember. But then he was the backup to Ben for I think I don't know, like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I think he was in Oakland for a bit too.
Yeah. Did you see the tweet about Chase Daniel from Warren Sharp the other day?
No. Speaking of Mizzou quarterbacks, eh?
Oh my, he's made like $38 million. It's like 5 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. It's absolutely insane what this guy has carved out. Just
him and Gabbert.
Yeah.
They're setting the precedent. If you're good, you want to get drafted high and be a career backup, not have to risk injury,
Oh,
go to Missouri.
hey. Oh, yeah. Seriously, right?
Yeah,
How
there
about
it is.
not Missouri, but my boy, actually not my boy, never liked him, but Chad Henne, similar like he his last year at Michigan, so he was in the 2008 draft. He's probably made so much money being a backup and
Yeah,
never being.
he's still in KC. Is that where
Yeah.
he is?
Well,
Yeah.
he was in KC. I actually don't know where he is, but he played last year. Like, it's
Right.
unbelievable. Like,
Yeah, that is wild. Is Chris Winkie still floating around in his age
oh,
63 season?
oh dear Lord. I think he was 63 in his senior year at Florida State, but
Yeah.
yeah, hard to say. Hard to
Actually,
say.
no, he was coaching. He was in the Panthers coaching staff a few years ago, I believe. Potentially like a quarterback coach or something.
Remember
That's
the Browns taking Brandon Whedon with was it like the 17th pick or something like that? And maybe
yeah,
it was early 20s.
yeah. Was that the same year that Dalton came out or around to the Bengals?
Oh,
Is that the same year?
I don't think it was the same year, but it probably was close. Anyway, he was 28 or 29 years old and barely ever played.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
that is whew,
Lots of those. We could dedicate an episode to that. Carson Wentz, if you have interest in the AFC South, Carson Wentz came back to practice. So Indianapolis Colts fans breathed a sigh of relief, him returning from this foot surgery. And I think he did one walkthrough and now he's on the COVID reserve list. So talk about a rocky start for our old pal, Carson Wentz. Not the guy who can afford to be missing time with a new team. Things aren't looking good for the Colts, if you ask me. Like, I know they have a great defense, but this is just not like there were so many question marks on Carson Wentz, and I really don't want to get into it because I know we've hit that nail on the head many a time in terms of how little confidence we have in Carson Wentz, at least if it has to do with an optimistic perspective about his performance.
yeah, if it has to do with football.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, then it's an issue.
We're confident he's not that great.
Ugh.
Yeah. At least, well, he's better than us. That's for damn sure.
Well,
But that's
no,
not who we're comparing him to.
yeah.
So, and then Deshaun Watson came out like a trade might be possible. The Dolphins were rumored. Brian Flores put out a vague remark when he was asked about it by the Dolphins beat reporters. But then it's coming out. Then reports are coming out, surely from Houston's camp, saying they're going to be happy to they're not going to budge on their request of like 3 firsts and 2 seconds or whatever it is.
Yeah, they want quite a haul for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're saying they'll be like, so it's since come out that they will be happy to just have him inactive every week if they need to. So
I know it's sorry, and this is hypothetical because it doesn't even look like it's going to happen. But from a football perspective, where would you be on giving up a huge haul of picks and assuming Tua to have Deshaun as your starter if you're the Dolphins? Like, are you as high on Deshaun as you do whatever you can to get him, even if it means giving up on a young quarterback?
I think the Dolphins have put in too much work to acquire draft capital to just throw it away on a giant question mark. Like,
Yeah.
not as a player. I'm so high on Deshaun Watson as a player, but I certainly am not a lawyer, and I would not trust that situation to play out. I saw a great tweet today. I forget who it was, but just sort of saying, if this had happened to a player with nowhere near that kind of talent, they'd be gone. They'd be like out of the league.
Oh, not even close.
Right. So it's just too risky. I don't know enough about the situation or how it's going to be resolved or what's going on behind the scenes to be honest, to even consider it. Like,
yeah, no, fair enough.
I'd maybe consider doing Tua for him straight, just
Yeah.
Tua. But I don't like the idea of a team that's finally seems to be getting towards back to relevance based on all the draft capital they acquired. They committed to the rebuild to then just go ahead and give it all back.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's enough because we got a lot of betting stuff, Scott. And I know this is your corner. I mean, I like this. I like to nuzzle up in this corner as well. Tough to be a football fan and not at least enjoy dabbling in some of the wagers that present themselves So what do you want to talk about first, my man? Oh, by the way, sorry, before we get started, you'll see up in the top left-hand side of our overlay here beside Bucs Banter, BetUS is partnering. They've partnered with Bucs Report. They're also sponsoring the pod. So for anyone who is interested, that's where we're getting all of our odds from. BetUS, they do a great job. If you use our promo code it says Bucs Banter up there. You actually have to type in Bucs Banter 125. And they're going to match 125% on your first deposit. So you put in $100, they're going to match an additional 125. So you're playing with $225 right off the bat if you just put in $100. So for any of our viewers or listeners who reside in the States, Bucs Banter 125, sign up on BetUS, and you will be receiving 125 extra dollars if you drop 100.
Yeah, beauty, use it. And the website is awesome. It's got a great interface, super easy to navigate, and a ton of options to get into. And we're gonna dive into some of them right now. This is a little bit off the board, and I don't know how many people are starting. I want to start with the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. Okay, so
love it. This is like the best comeback player of the year class ever. Like, it's going to be riveting. Like, this should be like an MVP race. Like,
yeah, this team would win the Super Bowl if they could somehow piece them all together. It's incredible. Okay, so a quick look at some of the names that BetUS has. So, excuse me. So, Dak is a pretty big favorite as of right now. He's plus 150. So, bet $100 to profit 150. A couple. I won't list the whole list, obviously, but here are a couple big names. Joe Burrow plus 500, Saquon plus 600, McCaffrey plus 650. So Nick Bosa plus 1,000, Wentz plus 900, Derwin James plus 2,000. I don't know why these aren't in order.
I know, it's annoying.
Yeah, it's weird. Odell plus 2,000, Jameis plus 900. Julio Jones plus 3,300, and then there are some other ones in there. So, but let's take a look. I think I mentioned all the guys that we actually want to talk about. But Colin, I am looking at Saquon Barkley at plus 600. He is, unfortunately, due to injury and team circumstance, been irrelevant during his time in the league. But that hasn't actually affected anyone's opinion on his ability to play or that he's an absolute game breaker, right? They're still going to be trying to get him the ball. If the whole Giants coaching situation stays on the rails and they aren't a complete tire fire, I think they'll at least hang around 500 for most of the year. And being in New York, being on a team like that, Saquon will get some publicity. Plus, people just like him, and I think that matters in an award like in an award like this. I think you could actually throw a similar case out for Dak, except for he plays for the Cowboys, and that's not, people aren't trying to give Cowboys too many awards, right? It's just the way it goes. So I like a couple guys on this list, and you can go into who you like after this. But Bowden actually texted me just before the show, so we both like Saquon at plus 600. And one more nugget, I also I checked earlier today. One defensive player in the last 20 years has won this award, and it was Eric Berry from Kansas City in 2015. Totally deserving, but just harder. I think a harder award for a defensive player to win. So Nick Bosa is obviously an incredible talent. He's at 10-1 for a reason, but I would steer clear just based on history alone. I think it's going to be very hard for a defensive guy to win the award.
Well researched. I like that you just, filled me in as well as our listeners on that piece of information. I mean, that's pretty glaring. One defensive player, like,
yeah, sometimes it happens.
That almost takes that side of the ball completely off the board.
It really does. Like, unfortunately, because that, like, you tell me there haven't been good defensive candidates in the last, like, of course there have been.
Yeah,
Eric Berry, what a freak, by the way. Just one of my favorite players of all time, honestly. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Bo. Go ahead, Call.
What a compliment to be called Bo.
Mm.
What a cool name too.
Man,
you know how I feel about Saquon. I got a big picture of him I'm looking at on the other side of my Bucs dungeon here. defensively, like I have Derwin James jotted down at plus 2,000 because I think he's in for a big year. But again, the question marks about Derwin James staying healthy are just so tough. But that's what would almost make his comeback story that much more appealing. Sorry, I also want to quickly say I love that you brought up Dak when you were making your case for Saquon in terms of everyone liking him, because I wrote down Dak as you were describing it, but you acknowledged that. That was great. Sorry, so the other guy is OBJ. I could see OBJ. I'm pretty high on Cleveland this year, and he's plus 2,000, which is real juicy. So I love the Saquon pick. He's my guy, and I would never want to bet against Saquon. But this is the type of, like, the odds here are so favorable to the better. You could sprinkle on a couple guys, right? There's nothing wrong with that, is there?
No, certainly not. Especially when you're getting 6-1, 20-1, things like that. I mean, you'd have to kind of decide if you think Dak is as big of a trump card as they've kind of listed him in the odds here. But throw a little on Saquon, throw a little on OBJ, and honestly, I mean, I'm not going to do this, but I wouldn't argue against someone saying they wanted to put a little bit on Jameis right now. If you like Peyton and you trust the Saints and you see what he's done in the preseason, like, I don't think he's going to win. I don't want to do it because I don't trust him to keep it, in a normal sort of situation for that many weeks. But plus 900 isn't bad. Yeah,
there you go. That's they're all about the odds with those kind of bets.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're taking some flyers here. I don't plus 150 for Dak. There are too many good stories and too many names that are just as big as Dak, I think, on the offensive side that, kind of negate the fact that he's plus 150. Like, I just think it's a Dallas overhyped thing, even though he's like a worthy candidate, but plus 150, like, I just can't get on board for that at all.
Yeah, especially when you see the odds on some of these other players who are big name guys at the same position. And
Julio plus 3,300. I don't like.
I feel like Julio still played games last year, though. Like,
I know.
It's kind of funny he's on the list, even to me.
But he is, and he's really good. So, the comeback player isn't always someone recovering or coming back from like a terrible injury, right? It's just like sometimes it's situationally based. So it's kind of a loose award, but there's some absolutely mammoth names on the list this year. I'm super interested to see who wins.
Totally, man. I'm with that. That's good stuff. One that jumps out at me for my fellow Buccaneer fans, Devin White, Defensive Player of the Year. I made this bet last year, and I'm gonna make it again. It's plus 2,200. There's a lot of names in front of Devin White on the Defensive Player of the Year, and just with knowing now how, like, I did it last year, no idea how the Bucs were gonna do. And for that to be available this year, I think you got to put a sprinkle on that. I feel really, really comfortable about that. So,
yeah,
not comfortable that he's going to win it, but I mean, comfortable putting a little sprinkle on Devin White if I'm betting on him every week to hit the over on his tackles anyway. I mean, he's such a dynamic force on the defensive side. He's going to be hungry this year, and he's going to be playing on a good team, and everyone knows his name now. So I think when they notice his absurd tackle numbers and how he's all over the place, he's going to be way more mainstream.
That's a great point. And yeah, like you said, he's going to have a tangible number beside his name that you can point to, which is going to be an insane amount of tackles, right? Which matters. It's tough. If you're a lockdown corner, you might just not get the ball thrown your way at all, right? Like that's not as easy to win an award without those numbers. So worth noting, Aaron Donald has won it 3 of the last 4 years, and he's plus 375, which is, it kind of makes you think just because he's so good.
That's just a foregone conclusion, you mean?
Yeah, and once he, you throw a plus 600 beside his name there, I think it's a no-brainer. So plus 375, BetUS has him. Myles Garrett is actually slightly ahead of him at plus 350. I love a middle linebacker on a good team that's going to rack up tackles, like just from a narrative and yeah, just a statistical standpoint, I really like that White pick. Anyone else on that list that you would take a shot with, or
Yeah,
at least look at?
let me pull it back up because there were a couple names that were intriguing to me. Defensive player of the year here.
Here's one here while you're looking it up. What about? I don't know. I don't love the number, but couldn't you see Chase Young really getting onto the scene as like, oh my, like an absolute superhero kind of situation?
Yeah, I mean, Chase Young plus 1,000. That's definitely got some intrigue. Where is Joey Bosa plus 1,200?
The
Joey,
Bosses are 1,100 and 1,200.
yeah, like I think we're gonna see a resurgence from the Chargers, and I think Joey Bosa, if he can stay on the field, is gonna put up some ludicrous sack numbers.
Yeah, well, now I'm realizing that why Michigan couldn't block Ohio State for the last 10 years when they have the Bosas plus Young just cycling in. Never forget when the second Bosa left and it was like, oh, finally. Like,
Yeah,
not a
yeah.
freak
You
coming
should,
after to suplex our quarterback. And it was like, oh, yeah, they actually have Chase Young, who hasn't been playing much. He's the best of the three. Sweet. Sweet. Good. That's good. He hasn't been playing much. Oh, awesome. Yeah, great. Yeah.
yeah, imagine that, eh? Chase Young not playing much. Crazy.
Super annoying. But anyway, sorry. Yeah, I would look at Young. What would you possibly take a stab on Derwin James or Jalen Ramsey? Any of those, either of those names stick out at all?
I think if the Rams are successful enough, then there's just no way that a different player than Aaron Donald on the same team will get it unless his he has like 10 picks or something. But guys are so hesitant to throw on Ramsey, but he's so good. Plus 3,300. That's so maybe that's the same logic because Derwin James is plus 2,000. So
I'd like Devin. I think Devin White's the best value on the board. I really do.
it just.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've watched so much Devin White, and I know you followed Devin White's career closely as well. And he's so great. He's so special and he's so young that I just can't even really fathom what the future has in store for this guy. And surrounded with these other weapons on that side of the ball, I just think that he's going to be absolutely lights out.
I agree, man. That's where I will be throwing some capital down. That's for sure.
Any others here that you want to talk? I got a whole bunch written down, Cap. So you just lead the way, and then.
All right, so I'm gonna steer away from the defensive player of the year. Although just going through that list, I love it. I want to shift to the coach of the year. So we're still in these individual awards, not team total stuff like that yet. But trust me, we're gonna get into them. So coach of the year, almost never given to just a good coach who coaches a good team because apparently that deserves no credit in the NFL. It's almost always the team that's expected to go in prior years 6-10, but ends up going 10-6, something like that. So here are a couple of the guys I have circled that could kind of fall into that category. I'm looking at Matt Rule from the Panthers. Once again, this is almost dependent on where, if you think a team might outperform their win total by about 3 or 4 wins or something like that, right? So I would look at Matt Rule at plus 2,200. Here are a couple other ones.
I really like the Matt Rule one. I mean,
yeah,
I think you and I were in agreement last week in terms of we think the Panthers could be in for a bit of a surprising season I think they're going to turn out some wins. We both had them finishing second in the NFC South in our rankings. Now we never got to hear from Bo on that yet, so I'm curious. I don't think he would have had them there as well. But regardless, I love Matt Rule, man. I think that's great value there, and I foresee a continued improvement from that team. I like what they're doing from a personnel standpoint.
Me too. So there's a lot of options. Another one I would throw in the mix. And this is a bit of a flyer, but Zach Taylor with the Bengals. Sorry, so he's 22-1. He's plus 2,200. once again, it's all about expectations. And no, I don't think the Bengals are going to light the world on fire, but you don't necessarily have to win the award. Obviously, it matters if you make the playoffs. It's like a huge kind of line of demarcation for winning these Coach of the Year awards. But I don't know if you like them. I'm just more looking at coaches who have some talent on the roster who can really outperform what they're supposed to do. And those are two that I was looking at.
And it's a great point, Scott, because Vegas obviously agrees with you as well with Flores and it looks like Ron Rivera, because I was thinking both those guys are names to consider. And they're both plus 800 with
they're like the favorites basically to win the award, right?
Those are the two favorites, so you're right.
Yeah.
The guy I circled too was Stefanski plus 1,800. I mean, the Browns, although they're coming off,
I almost think they were too good last year.
Well, yeah, according to your philosophy here, which certainly seems legit, they do. But the Browns are such a historically awful franchise that maybe 2 years in a row, it's kind of like, okay, the Browns are back, and you got to start giving some credit to Stefanski, who's done a fantastic job.
I would listen to that. I see where you're coming from. The only thing is, if they go 11-5 again, or 11-6, then
how could you give it to him this year?
How can you give it to him this year? That's why I kind of crossed him out. But I get what you're saying.
I like the Matt Rule one a lot, Scott. I think that would be, if I were to suggest one, I'd be on that Matt Rule.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might bet that after this podcast. A couple absolute no-goes are, I'm sorry, Dan Campbell could be $4 billion to 1, and I wouldn't take him. Even Urban, he's 38 to 1 for the record, which is too low. Urban with the Jags at 20 to 1. Do you see any scenario like what about that? Do you think the Jags? No, I don't either. I
don't. There's too many holes. Offensive line, different aspects of the defense. ETN going down really hurts.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not this year.
Okay, so we got the general kind of thesis out there. Overperforming coach, not necessarily a great team. Good story. They usually win this thing. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, let us know in the comments too if you guys have any picks. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking.
Yeah,
I'm with you, Cap. You got me on that Matt Rule train, buddy. I think I might have to ride or die on that one with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Carlene Pezzuolo, is this Bucs Report or fantasy football? Funny thing is, it is Bucs Report, and we haven't mentioned fantasy football once.
No.
We're discussing real live NFL. We talked about the Bucs off the top, and now we are discussing again real live NFL sports betting.
But we appreciate you chiming in, Carlene.
We do.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, so Trask did not look good. He was given a C- grade for the preseason. I'm not sure who's writing the report cards.
That's pretty much a D.
He has a long way to go. No question he does. He hasn't played a real NFL game yet. I think it's a long haul, like we said earlier in the episode when we covered what's up with the Bucs, talked specifically about Trask, and I think he's looked fine overall. Like, showing some command. Sure, he's had some struggles. Don't forget he's playing with the third stringers at every position as well. So it's kind of unfair to evaluate a quarterback according to those standards when you don't really know the guys they're playing with. They're playing with guys trying to make the team, different agendas being served. So
and Colin, just so you know, the third stringers are basically the fourth stringers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's basically, so just just getting that out there.
Yeah. But yeah, so I like what you said. We should maybe summarize at the end some of these picks because I really like them.
I got them.
Okay, cool. Matt, of course, here. Another interesting one, Cap. If another award, offensive rookie of the year. I got 3 guys written down that I would be comfortable betting on all 3 of them because I like the odds. Kyle Pitts plus 900. He's going to just have an insane workload and the amount of targets are going to be there. And at plus 900 compared to what some of the guys on the list ahead of him were, the quarterbacks. Now, you're probably going to tell me that they only give it to quarterbacks usually, but Kyle Pitts is different, man. He's a different breed. So if Travis Kelce's a rookie, like, could he win it? Because Pitts has a potential to impact statistically and productivity wise in a pretty significant way.
Yeah, he's gonna have to really do something special to win it. Like you said, just positionally, just because a running back gets the ball so much, a quarterback has the ball, all that, right?
Yeah,
But
sure.
yeah, I mean, I like it. I know how much you like Pitts, obviously. Yeah, I would like to see a little bit better value in order to want to get in on that, but I get it. I get it. Who else do you like?
Lawrence a pretty heavy favorite. I like Jamar Chase at plus 1,400. I don't know if those odds are a little juicier. Again, I'm going against the quarterback grain, which maybe seems silly because it's such a great quarterback class.
Yeah, it's
Like I get that, but then
hard.
it could be any of those guys if you're going to bank on a quarterback. So why not take a shot on some of these skill guys? And if one of them has a massive season, then there you go. So that's one of them. And then where is I guess Javonte Williams is 1,600. Javonte Williams is another guy I have interest in, the running back in Denver, coming out of North Carolina. He's competing with Melvin Gordon, pardon me. Teddy Bridgewater is a quarterback, so we'll see how their aerial tech is. But I could see him potentially being really productive. You already mentioned running backs have the ball in their hands enough, at least, compared to a tight end or a receiver. So those are just some names that jumped out at me. But again, I will defer to your expertise. I'm not so much the long game future is better, but I do love to discuss it.
No, hey, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just bringing it up here.
Elijah Moore plus 5,000 is another guy, receiver in New York. Zach Wilson looks fantastic throwing the football. There's issues with their O-line. They're such a young team at important positions, but Elijah Moore, the second most productive receiver in college football by a landslide, just behind Devontae Smith. He's going to be a big factor for the New York Jets. Even if they're good or bad, he could put up some pretty big numbers. So just some names of rookies I like.
Yeah, for sure.
Who are you leaning here, buddy? Do you have one? Did this jump out at you or not really?
No, it didn't really jump out at me because I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a boring winner, one of these quarterbacks, unfortunately. So not from an odds perspective, nothing I would actually be, crawling all over or falling all over myself to go bet. Just for a fun type of play, I know we've talked about him, but I'd look at Rondale Moore at 50-1. Not once again, do I think I don't know. I don't know if he's going to win, but I think he could have a couple huge games, affect the game in a few different ways, and kind of burst onto the scene. And at 50-1, I wouldn't mind taking that flyer, but I think it's going to be one of those quarterbacks at the top of the list. So it'd be a stay away from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would lean Fields. Although it's hard to say, we don't know who's going to play.
Andy Dalton declared the starter today.
Oh, I honestly didn't see that. So I didn't. Oh, okay.
Which is just ridiculous.
It's insane. It's insane.
I kind of feel bad for Andy Dalton somehow because he's just in Chicago. He's just getting absolutely annihilated, understandably. And it's not really to a fault of his own.
Yeah.
But it is his time, right, Scott?
Oh, it's his. Just ask him. Just ask him. It's his time. So, yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's a good one, though, call to bring up for sure. That's always an exciting award.
It's a fun one. I like this rookie crop. I like it. On the offensive side, some great offensive playmakers coming into the league this year, folks. A lot of those names we just mentioned, whether you bet them or not, they'll be fun to watch. So Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, who we just mentioned, both 50-1 odds. Maybe we'll have a friendly wager, Cap. You get Rondale, I'll take Elijah Moore, and we'll see who's more likely to win the rookie.
Who's more likely to win? Oh, there it is. Nice. That's good. That's good. Can I pop on to the next thing here?
Please do. While you do that first, let me just remind everyone, you see BetUS. If you sign up with BetUS and register an account, make sure you enter the promo code, not the one exactly listed above the screen. You need to add a 1, 2, and a 5. Bucs Banter 125. Add that in the promo code, and they're going to give you an extra 125% on your investment.
Love it. Absolutely. Yeah. Get in there, everyone.
That's where we're reading our odds from. That's what the info we are delivering to you.
Yes. And the next thing from the Bet US site that I'm going to pull. I love looking at these. It's picking the Super Bowl matchups. So this is great because you can take a couple shots, obviously, right? Because the odds are so long. First one that stood out to me. So, and I'm sorry, Bucs fans. Chiefs Rams 25-1. I don't know, man. I think that's pretty good value. I think the Bucs are the best team in the NFC. I do, but at 20, I think the Chiefs are kind of head and shoulders the best team in the AFC. So I really like their chances to get back there again for the third straight year. 25-1, like that is. I think that's worth something. What do you think there?
This is Super Bowl exact outcome. I'm just getting there now.
No, Super Bowl
right.
matchups.
Super Bowl matchups. There we are.
It's right there, yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I like the Rams to be a sleeper in the NFC this year, no question.
Yeah.
I do think they still have lots of holes though, compared to a team like the Bucs, but it's the NFL, man. Like at one game, you lose one game and you're done against another very good team in the postseason. Health can be such a factor. It's not like they got to win a series like every other sport. That's why we love the NFL.
Yeah.
Not the sole reason, but it's part of what makes it unique.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of similarly, I saw Bills Rams was 60-1, which is just, obviously a long shot, but if you're getting 60, pardon?
You need two upsets in that one, so
yeah,
it's a little more long shot.
Yeah, you need a lot. You need a lot. But
very good teams.
Let's call those whatever. Let's say those are the second best teams in each conference. I'm getting 60-1. Like, obviously a lot has to happen, but just I love that value. No, I don't think the Bills are better than the Chiefs, but I'm willing to put a little stake in it to see what happens.
Yeah, don't go betting your steakhouse on it if you own one, but maybe sprinkle the cost of a steak on a bet like this, and you'd be really happy at the end of the year.
And it isn't. Yeah, exactly. So Bills Rams at 60, and then Bills Bucs all the way down at 20. So that's the difference right there. That So. And here, sorry, let me just bring up Chiefs. So I think the Chiefs and the Bucs have to be like 8 to 10-1 here. Sorry, my computer's just 10-1 for Chiefs Bucs. So that's got to be that's for sure the lowest. That's the most likely scenario in Vegas right now.
What about Browns Bucs?
Browns Bucs. I just had it. I don't know why I didn't write it down, as opposed to just try to remember it all like a lunatic. 25-1 for Browns Bucs.
Right. Okay.
So are any of those talking to you at all? Like, are you pretty set on the Chiefs making it out of the AFC? I know you just asked about the Browns, but anything like that? Yeah,
like I'm not gonna I'm the kind of guy I'm gonna sprinkle mine on individual players because one guy needs to crush it.
That's fair.
So for that I will stay away. My prediction would be a Super Bowl rematch. But I certainly think what you're saying makes perfect sense. I mean, with how good some of those teams are, there's quite a bit of separation, isn't there, from the top teams in the AFC from the rest?
Yeah.
I put the Browns in that same tier almost as the Bills.
How about Baltimore? Would you put them in the same group?
No, I think the Browns are going to be better than Baltimore is this year.
Okay.
I really do. I think I have them as a division winner or division winner somewhere here.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that's my rationale for staying away from those. But I totally see what you're saying, and it's worth a shot, right? Play with a couple matchups, and
yeah, I'm looking at Ravens Cowboys at 140-1. I don't know, like it's not absolutely insane. Sorry, I know I haven't mentioned the Bucs, but I think the Bucs are the best team. I'm just looking for value here. Definitely some interesting, like, mix in a Green Bay and a Buffalo, Seattle versus Cleveland. Like, anyone listening, go just check out the site just to compare how crazy some of these combinations are. And, if you want to have a little bit of a rooting interest on two teams just to see how they are throughout the season. And yeah, it's a fun bet to make.
Love it. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I know one that we've talked about previously, but not the actual. We weren't pulling up the lines. We were just discussing coaches on the hot seat. And Mike Zimmer, first coach to be fired at plus 900, just kind of caught my attention. I think,
Really?
yeah.
Is he the favorite?
No, there's gotta be, there's 5 coaches ahead of him on the list. And Matt Nagy's the only other guy I'm really scared of getting axed first, and he's plus 750. But though, like, I think it's gotta be Zimmer or Nagy, and they aren't at the top of the list. So anyway, I could see a major regression from the Vikings, and if that were to happen, I think Zimmer's been given a long leash there, and he's only proved to be rotating between mediocre to solid, not really able to get him over the hump. So that's a guy who jumps out at me. Mike Zimmer plus 900. Matt Nagy, obviously not starting the day off well, committing to Andy Dalton to start the season, but if he's unwilling to commit to Justin Fields and ownership sees it a different way, that's certainly at plus 750. Another coach whose seat would be burning hot.
The only argument is that maybe Nagy's just holding on to Fields so he can play them if the team play him if the team looks bad, and then that buys him a little bit of extra time. But yeah, I think Nagy could be gone for sure.
Yeah, regardless, that, like, there being other coaches at more tasty. Sorry.
Yeah, I was looking at Mike McCarthy, but their schedule is pretty. Their first 2 weeks are tough. They have the Bucs and the Chargers, but then I think they're going to be favored in like 6 of their next 7 games or something like that. Just taking a look, so they would have to really bottom out early. And with Dak looking to be healthy enough to play, I don't really see it.
And I don't think Jerry's as with the head coach. I feel like Jerry is a little more loyal than we assume he would.
Yeah,
because he's Jerry Jones. Like, I don't know. He stuck with Jason Garrett quite a bit past, I think, most Cowboys wish he did. And then he goes and hires like a similarly predictable head coach. It's just a ridiculous hire in the first place, in my opinion. So I get why you think he should be fired. I just don't know if Jerry's there yet. I think he's going to give him this year for sure, especially after what happened with Dak last year.
I think so too. But if they somehow started like 0-4, would you be surprised if he just got axed? Like, I wouldn't.
If they start 0-4, yeah, that with Dak in there, I mean, and if like Zeke Elliott's still unproductive, that might be time to panic. But I still don't know if Jerry blames that on McCarthy necessarily. I don't know.
We'll see. Just throwing out potentials there. Who else? Sure. Can you list a couple further guys down the list there that you would at least take a look at?
Yeah, sorry. Let me just pull it up here. I just kind of jotted it down in my notes. So, coach.
I got Kingsbury at 1,200 plus 1,200.
I keep clicking on NFL GOTY.
Yeah.
Coach of the year. Wait, no, that's not what we're doing. First coach fired. Sorry, folks. I'm just trying to navigate.
No, hey, this is the exciting world of betting on football, man.
That's it. Maybe we should talk about something else as I look for this.
Okay. No problem.
There's a lot of options on BetUS. That's all.
Okay. So the next one I wanted to talk about, NFL rushing leader. I'm looking at Nick Chubb at plus 650.
Love that.
Yeah. As much as like I love Henry and all that, well, like just the value at plus 275. Obviously, if he wins the rushing title, that's not going to be a surprise. I'm just looking at plus 650 for Chubb. I think their offense is going to be good. They're going to have a great passing game as a threat, and just to open it up for Chubb. We know he can bust out big runs, so he can kind of be bottled up, and then still end up with 125 yards in a given game, even though it doesn't look great the whole time. We know he can do that. I love him. Like we said, we both think the Browns are going to be good, but I don't think we think they're going to be overwhelming, right? So they're going to be in games and all that. So I like the value there a lot. I really like that.
Yeah, man. I love the Chubster. He's awesome. Only fear is like Kareem Hunt workload, but like, whereas Derrick Henry isn't sharing with anybody, and like Dalvin Cook also. That's why those guys have, why Vegas is taking more to get more there.
Totally fair, but yeah.
But
get that.
but I mean, Nick Chubb's amazing, and he's like a traditional running back, right? Like he can
Yeah.
catch the ball, but he's their ground and pound guy, and they play Hunt as their receiving back.
Yeah.
So Chubb is totally for plus 650 a worthwhile gamble. The only other guy who pops out at me there is Jonathan Taylor at plus 1200.
I like that a lot.
Young legs, great O-line.
Yeah.
Not a super deep division.
Yep. I would like it better if we knew the quarterback or if we knew exactly what was happening, but I'd be shocked if Taylor didn't have like a 1,400 yards and 11 TDs kind of season.
Yeah. I love Jonathan Taylor. So
yeah,
just another name worth mentioning. And I obviously opened that instead of the first coach fired. So I'm just going to move on from that. Sometimes you gotta take your L's, man.
Oh, trust me, I know.
Okay.
I'm about to take an L with probably every bet that I've thrown out here so far, so don't worry.
No, I like it. What do you want to talk about next, man? Any bets that jump out at you?
I wouldn't mind. The last kind of prop I want to talk about is the passing yards leader. Okay, so
it's Mahomes, obviously, right? It's got to be.
Mahomes is the favorite. The worry about betting him is that they're blowing everyone out and he doesn't play in fourth quarters.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I think in any given season with this offense, if Reed kind of decides like, hey, you're going to lead the league in passing this year, like let's just go do it. I think they can do it. Right. So
that's for sure.
Right. So he's plus 300, which is obviously kind of expensive because it's a tough award to win and predict. But yeah, I would go chalk here. I would go with Mahomes. Although Prescott at plus 400, they're going to be pitching it around because they're going to be down all the time in those insane games where Dak throws for 425 and they lose by 14 somehow because they've been losing the whole game, kind of thing. So that's the other thing. That's a lot of game flow, not necessarily the best quarterback, but game situation dictating who wins it. Where would you fall? Anyone sticking out to you?
No, I didn't jot anything down from the passing yards again. Like I thought of Brady, but then I thought because I think it's gonna be a lot of passing touchdowns. I actually have interest in Brady at plus 500 for the most passing touchdowns in the league.
I like that.
But from a yardage wise, I totally get what you're saying going chalk. And I like that, it's not always about taking a major gamble. Sometimes there's a reason guys are favored. And if you're still going to reap some rewards, 2-3 times your money, then why not bet on the strongest horse?
Yeah, for sure. Another one in the same Dak kind of mold would be Russell Wilson at plus 1,600, just because who knows with Seattle, they only throw they throw more when they're down, but they are always playing in these crazy games, and Wilson has to put up crazy stat lines to get them back into the game. So just another one to potentially consider, but I would be looking Mahomes.
And with the new OC there too in Seattle, who knows? Maybe all of a sudden they're going to let it fly. I mean, they have such a dynamic receiving group.
It's true.
It's an option, but yeah, no, I like where you're going there, Scotty.
Yeah.
And then another, I think props wise, that's more or less any of the ones I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you have any individual player props that you found interesting. Like there's a couple.
There's a ton.
They're not really juicy that worth talking about. I kind of like us focusing on those that, reward the selection. There's no point talking about minus money ones. Over-unders or whatever.
I mean, that's not what we're doing here. We're trying to throw out some fun ones to play and things that we like, things that we want to cheer for and everything. So I'm with you.
Two team ones that I will hit on before I let you cover whatever else you do to wrap up the segment. But Cleveland Browns to finish first in the AFC North at plus 130. I like that a lot. J.K. Dobbins just went down. Ravens have been dealing with some stuff. I think this is the year the Browns are going to take that division, the AFC North. So plus 130, Browns to finish first in the AFC North. And Houston Texans, to lose most losses in the NFL. It's plus 155. I think it's a lock. So,
wow, that's pretty nice.
That team is in complete shambles. I think they could go winless potentially.
Where's Detroit on that list?
They're next in line. So I just jotted my favorite down. So if you want to go through the painful process of me trying to find something.
No. Oh God, no. Please.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those are great. That everyone check those out. Those are really fun lists, fun bets to potentially make. Yeah, I've been beating the drum about how bad the potential Giants coaching situation is. At 22-1, I would maybe take a look at the worst record for them. I don't actually think they're that bad. I just think they're a falls off the rails candidate. Honestly, Houston's going to be terrible. So that's more of just a fun stab to take. But
that would all. Sorry to cut you off. That would all but squash your Saquon comeback player of the year then.
Yeah, exactly. Those are in complete juxtaposition against each other, right? So I get that. But I just kind of think those are two potential outcomes for that team. So that's where I was.
And in your defense, if one of them hits, you're laughing.
Yeah.
So if you were to play both, it wouldn't matter. Whichever one hit would work.
Yeah. No kidding. I'm looking at the NFC East. Okay. NFL division final standings. First and second place in any order. Dallas and Washington, plus 150. So either one of them can win the division and either one can be the runner up there. I just don't like those other two teams as we've hit on. I think Philadelphia is going to be terrible. I think the Giants have potential to suck. But at plus 150, I like that a lot. I do think those two teams are definitively better than the other two. So, that's kind of cool. I really like that.
Sorry, could you say the odds on that once more, Scott?
So it's plus 150 for Dallas and Washington, and it's in any order. So you get the mix and match of
them being 1-2.
Yeah, exactly, in either order. So that's nice.
Yeah, that feels damn near luck.
Yeah, I
personally as well. I just have a lot of trouble seeing Philly doing anything, making any noise this year. I think they're going to be picking. They're going to be picking in the top 5. I think.
Yeah.
And then the Giants have their issues. So.
And then a similar type bet. If we've been pumping up the Panthers, you can get Panthers and Tampa Bay first or second in any order in the NFC South at plus 375.
Ooh, I like that.
If we like Carolina, I think that might be.
Wait, sorry, what is it? Plus
375.
See, you know what I think then, Scott? And I had written this down, but I forgot to say it, so I'm glad you brought that up. Then you might as well just bet the Panthers to finish second in the NFC South for plus 500.
Oh, is that just there? Oh, yes. Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, I don't know. As we're talking through it, because that is one I jotted down. So, I think the Bucs are going to take the NFC South. So I think you're better off just laying that money on the Panthers to finish second at plus 500, which I might do.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that a lot. Man, this is just like Christmas. This all these combinations. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. You could spend a lot of time mixing the potential scenarios. So again, big reason why we like using BetUS.
It's amazing. It's couldn't recommend it enough. I did a pretty big deep dive today, and I'm still finding some new combos and stuff to look at. So sorry, everyone. We're in hour 1 or in the second hour of 6 in this podcast. I hope that's cool with everyone. Sorry, Carlene.
Do you got any more you want to hit on before we get on out of here, Scotty? Are you feeling satisfied with the content we've?
I feel good.
We'll be doing it all year too. Don't forget. We'll be maybe not on Bucs Report, but Bucs Banter will be certainly hitting on plenty of weekly odds. Bo and I love to do the player props, and
absolutely. We can mention the pool that we do. It's almost like any listeners who know this super contest was at the Hilton in Vegas, where you pick 5 games against the spread every week. And I think theirs was a $1,500 entry fee. Anyways, ours is $100. We'll put the website in the description for the podcast. It's www.razorspools.com. But it's $100. Pick 5 games against the spread. I think the winner won around 8,000 last year. It's really, really fun. Have action every week, and definitely a good way to keep your eye on the teams throughout the league. And yeah, it's a great pool. But yeah, and I mean, this was more of a props type thing. We'll be able to get into lines and win totals even next week before we actually before the season actually starts. But this is just kind of, throwing out some fun ones and seeing what we like.
That's it. Lots of fun ones. We'll tweet them out, our favorite ones. So they'll come out on Twitter just to put them in writing, the ones that we really like. And,
absolutely.
Take them or leave them as you may, but we got the receipts now. So we'll see how we do on those. And it's beauty of the NFL, man. Like, we just think about the actual sport itself, but you got fantasy, you got gambling. I mean, good God, it's like Christmas every Sunday.
And it resets, and then you just get to do it again. And then you can just try, because we know it's freaking hard, but hey.
Yeah. Shout out to Harry the Greek and the over-under on Bucs Report. I know he likes to talk a lot of lines and betting, and he'll be covering plenty of that right here at Bucs Report as well. But for now, I think that is sufficient in terms of our NFL betting preview. Again, BetUS, Bucs Banter 125. Don't forget the 125 on the end. That's the promo code. They will give you an additional $125 on any $100 deposit you make if you sign up with them. Use our promo code, and you'll get that extra chunk of change. Thank you for listening, and remember, please like and subscribe on YouTube, our own YouTube channel. Just search Bucs Banter on YouTube. You'll see it there. And feel free to give us a follow on Twitter. I'm at Bucs Banter, or Scott here at cap_10_Ron, Captain Ron. Thanks so much for listening, and we can't wait to talk next week on Bucs Report, Monday at 7 p.m., as that will be our last live episode before the NFL season is underway. Can't wait. Have a good night.
Later, guys.